Today I'm going to show you how to enter expenses into ReQlogic. You will need to disable your pop-up blocker for ReQlogic to function properly. There are two ways to access ReQlogic. One, using a web browser, and two, using a mobile device. To begin entering expenses or append an existing document, use the Transactions menu and select Expenses. If you're creating a new expense report, click the New button on the right-hand side of the screen. If you're appending an existing document, use the lookup or the magnifying glass to find and select your unsubmitted expense report. For this example, I've selected the New button, which reveals the required fields which we need to complete before we save the document. Some of the fields will be completed for you. The fields you need to focus on for expenses are description, date, and facility. The description should be detailed enough to help you find the document if you're looking for it later to append, and also help your manager approve your expense report. The date should be the date of the expense report, and the facility is the entity that the expense will be charged to. Once you've completed the header of the document, you can click Save, or simply click New Line and begin entering the item details. Clicking New Line reveals the line item detail entry window with additional required fields. Item IDs drive everything in ReQlogic. So the first thing you need to do is select your item. Select an item by clicking the magnifying glass and searching for your item. This is where pop-up blockers can become a problem. If you click the magnifying glass and you have pop-ups blocked, you may not see this window. With the Item Select window open, you can click the star button next to a frequently used item to add it to your favorites, which can then be accessed from the Line Item Detail entry window, clicking the star to the right of the magnifying glass. Let's take a look at entering an expense report through the web browser of ReQlogic. For this example, I'm going to log into the test company instead of putting anything into production so that I don't get in trouble by accounting. So let's log in. There we go. This is the homepage of ReQlogic. You can see that there's already some recent transactions shown here. Well, let's begin entering expense. I'm going to click New, and I'm going to put in a description. My date is okay. My facility is okay. I can now just hit save. Now I'm going to enter a new line. And here I can do the lookup and find a document. Move this down. Now with this window expanded, I could do a few things here. I could look for airfare. Or I can simply click 2, 3, or 4 and look through all of the expense items. The green ones are the ones that I've already added to my favorites. So if I've already added something to my favorite, if I click the favorites button, I get a much shorter list of the items that I use all the time. Well, there's one other way to look up an item. If you know the beginning few characters, let's say I just type air, it will pop up. So now I've got an item in there. You'll notice the GL account is now set. I need to put a description for this expense line. Quantity 1, units each, and price. Now, I'm pretty much done with this line, except I want to enter a receipt. So I'm going to click Upload and find a receipt. I've got a receipt saved on the desktop of my computer, so I can click Upload, choose my file, and click Upload. Now I have a PDF attachment attached to my line. Now let's say I had another line. Maybe there's just mileage to the airport. We come here, type MIL, select it, and put in the number of miles. ReQlogic automatically calculates the item total. And I click Save this line. Now if that's all the expenses I had for this expense report, I can click Submit. Once I click Submit, it's going to route to a specific person for approval. This would be your manager that's configured in ReQlogic. If I look at the Status tab, I can see some more details about the transaction. Let's hit Submit and watch what happens. So now you can see the status has changed. The status is now routed to Kathy for approval. Once Kathy logs in and approves the documents that are waiting for her to approve, this document will end up in GP to be posted and paid. One more way that I can enter expense reports into ReQlogic is by downloading a QFX or an OFX file from my credit card that I use for my expenses from the credit card website. We'll click Transactions and Import Expenses. Now I select my file type, which will be OFX or QFX. And I'm going to put expense type as paid by employee. If this was a company credit card, you could have your company credit card listed here. But for these testing purposes, this was paid by me. And I'm going to put description here. Now I'm going to choose my file. Well, here's my QFX file. If I've imported this before, I would need to accept this duplicate file name, which I think I have done before. So let's do that and then hit import. Now, here you see a list of expenses. And apply item ID is by each one of these lines that have not been added to my expense report. So now what I need to do is select the expense type and an item. So let's do airfare first. So now everything that's airfare, I just click apply the line next to it, and that will apply that item ID to that line. Now that looks like all of them. So now let's do meals. All right. Now I've got a few things on here that look like office supplies and a hotel. Let's go to hotels. All right. Got a few more. I've got office supplies. I'm just going to go ahead and say that these are others are office supplies. I'm not sure what they are, but that's all right. Now, once I have everything coded and everything is to be reimbursed on an expense report, I hit import. Now all of my lines are on my expense report. And you can see they're coded based on the item ID that I picked. Now you have some choices here. You can attach the receipt at the line level. And how you would do that would be to click into the line and upload a receipt. Or you can upload the credit card statement by hitting the attachments file here. I don't have the statement, so I'm not going to upload anything. But if I'm done with this and I've got everything attached and everything looks correct, I can just hit submit. And it will submit for approval. And that concludes this session on entering expenses into ReQlogic using a web browser.